you now transplant your crop to those holes. And here, we usually advise the transplanting to be done in the late evening. And it is usually done in the late evening because at that time the environment is conducive, and the plant will not get a lot of shock. This is what we call transplanting shock. It will not get a lot of shock. If you plant in the morning, then the plant will be hit by the sun of the day. By evening, you'll find that the plant will be withered because there will be a lot of stress from the sun. But once you do in the cool of the evening, the plant has the whole night to recover, so that by the time it is hit by the sun of the next day, it will be having the energy to withstand that added stress, the environment that has changed. And therefore, it is important you now get your plant from the nursery, and then now you can be able to plant in the late evening. From the early evening to the late evening, that is the requisite time for transplanting. So after mixing the manure and the soil, we put the water in the holes, because it is very important so that once you establish the crop, it can be able to establish very well. So if you have overhead irrigation, you can do irrigation via overhead. If you have the furrows, you can do the furrows. If you have the drips, you can open the drips so that you can be able to have the water. So you have to put enough water in the holes, and then after that you can be able now to transplant. After that is done, after watering, now transplanting is done. First of all, you drop the seedlings in each hole like that, and then you have another team that will be coming in and now transplanting. How you do, that's how you transplant. You make sure the roots have penetrated well in the soil. Make sure the roots have penetrated well, and make sure you don't cover the leaves. With your fingers, you make a small hole on the ground, and then now you plant, and then you fix very well in the ground. This is now the process we call transplanting. After now you have done that, then you have to do the watering. You have to do the watering again so that the plant can have sufficient water to start going. And now after this transplanting, now the plant will go now to the other stage we call the starting stage. So once transplanting is done like this, the plant is now established well to start growing. There are a number of things that usually happens here. Because once you transplant it this way, you may find that there are now enemies that will be coming to attack this crop. And one of the key enemies that attack this crop here are the pests, and also we have the diseases. One of the key pests that you should take care at the seedling stage, or once you transplant, immediately you transplant or the following day you transplant, it is very important to protect your young crop against cutworm. And cutworm is actually a pest that usually comes and then cuts at the base of the plant. Once it cuts at the base of the plant, then this plant will just die off. And the cutworm usually hide on the ground. Usually hide on the ground, and then it comes to the cool of the day in the evening, that comes and cuts at the base. And therefore, what we usually do here, we usually use a chemical with active ingredient lambda cyhalothrin, which is an ingredient that has what we call a contact action and a knockdown effect. And once you apply it, and how you apply it, once you have a knapsack, you apply at the base of the plant, Don't touch the leaves, just at the base of the plant. And once this is done, in the evening, and actually we say you apply in the evening, so that when this cutworm comes in the evening, then it finds the chemical is still potent enough, it will be knocked down, and then it will die. And therefore, once that is done, you have protected these young seedlings very well. The other thing that usually affects this crop is a disease we call damping off. And apart from damping off, we have another disease we call stem rot and also root rot. And To stop or to control those diseases, for the dumping off, we have a product we call carbendazim. So carbendazim, once you apply carbendazim, and we usually recommend, because of the stem rot and also because of the root rot, you use a chemical with active ingredient, copper oxychloride. So once you mix a carbendazim and copper oxychloride, and then you can do a drench, it will be able to prevent the two diseases, because they are the ones that are prevalent in the soil at this moment. Because you are going to find that you have placed water here, but here there is no water. So you find the area where you have placed the water, you are going to find a lot of activity from the pathogens, that is from the rotting bacteria and from the dumping of bacteria like pythium that usually destroy this soil. And also, apart from pythium, you may even find fusarium bacteria. And fusarium bacteria, they are the one who later stages they cause a disease we call fusarium yellows. And therefore, once you use carbendazim and copper oxychloride, you are going to control those diseases, soil diseases, very well, and the plant is going to grow up. And now from here up to 7 days, from here, 7 days later, you can now be able to start now the foliage spray to be able to protect the crop. And now from here, from the transplanting, the plant now goes into what we call the starting stage. And we are going to see next the management aspects that are deployed during the starting stage of this crop, so that you can be able to protect and to deploy all the aspects that are needed during this stage.